Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to Level Up Reviews. This is Wolf, and do I have a treat for you today? Ultima 4 Quest of the Avatar. Let's jam! Last time we left Richard, him and his brother have created origin systems. Company has started growing and gaining new employees. But now Richard found a new problem. Specifically, being a leader. No longer had he the leisure to create games at his own pace, but now he had responsibilities in front of his team. Richard Garriotts thought that Richard needed to shape up and lead by an example. Tension between two brothers culminated in having a fight. And when I say a fight, I mean a fight. Specifically a wrestling match over a pencil. Sibling rivalry at its finest. After realizing how ridiculous the situation has gotten, they made an agreement. A fixed hours. However, people could choose if they wanted to come in early or late. After this incident, everything was going smoothly, and despite of getting criticized by fundamentalist Christian magazines and televangelists for propagating Satanism and violent behavior, yes, there were no Satanists or violent behavior before video games started appearing. There was one more privilege of having his own company. For the first time, Richard got to read his fan mail, and what he saw shocked him. He found out how people were playing his games, not at all what he intended them to do. Not as heroes, saviors of the world, but as villains, and sometimes they were even worse than Mundane or Minix or Exodus. Particularly, they enjoyed stealing, massacring villages, and everybody's favorite activity seemed to be killing Lord British himself. Now this would not do. So Richard decided to put morality system in his next games. Even though Richard claimed that this had nothing to do with fundamentalist complaints, but it was for challenging a player. I suspect though, he did not like the idea of proving them right in any shape or form. After all, this was his art, his passion, his baby, and mere suggestion that this could be somehow immoral probably did not sit well with him. All of his friends, family strongly objected to this idea, especially his brother, and it's easy to see why. I mean, here your customers are telling you what they want, what they enjoy about your games, and you will punish them for it? I mean, it sounds mad. But Richard has made up his mind. And after all, he wanted his games to be as realistic as possible. And in the real world, your actions do have consequences. So he decided to read up on morality, of history and philosophy, and what greatest thinkers thought about this subject. He found particular influences in poetry, arts, and fables. He looked in religion and Eastern mysticism, and he nailed down 3 principles: truth, love, and courage. He thought all of the other virtues came from these 3 principles. And these 3 principles are indeed highly regarded by many cultures and many religions. Zoroastrians would say that pursuit of truth is the best way to live your life. Hindus will tell you that only absolute truth is Brahma. In Islam, it is one of the 99 names of Allah, and all Christians will tell you that when Pilate asked his famous question, "Quid est veritas?" What is truth? He was staring truth right in its face. To claim that truth and God are one and the same shows just how much humanity values truth. And what is a man without love? I can remember famous saying, "Man without love is an empty vessel, which will never be filled." It is a huge component of Dharma in Hinduism and Buddhism. In Islam, God's love is shown by God's greatest gift to humanity, love itself. In the words of Apostle Paul, "If I have the gift of prophecy, and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I can move the mountains, but have not love, I am nothing." Higher love, or agape, as Greeks called it, is inseparable of what it means to be human. And of course courage, which is one of the most highly valued virtues. Courage transcends all languages, all cultures, and everybody can admire it. We can think of many saints who courageously died for their beliefs, or Islamic warriors who were charged to defend the truth even in the face of impossible odds, or even Norse mythology where Tyr sacrificed his arm without hesitation to bind Fenrir. From these 3 principles come 8 virtues. It's easy to understand with this diagram. You will not have race and job selections as usual. Richard wanted players to be themselves, or their avatars, the physical representation, or should I say virtual representation, of a player in the game. Ultima 4 is the first game to coin this term. It comes from Hinduism, and it means descent, representing God's incarnation as a human or an animal, in order to fulfill some kind of quest usually. So I guess it wouldn't make much sense to be hobbit or an elf, I suppose, if you're a hero from Earth. After all, this was not Time Bandits the game, not Lord of the Rings the game. This was Ultima, Richard Garriotts' creation. To select a job, you start at Renaissance Fair, and go to Fortune Teller's wagon. She will give you questions to determine your class. Each virtue is connected to the job. Virtues rise and decline based on your actions. Here's how it works. From the truth follows honesty. You will be a wizard and start at Magensia. You can think of Honest Abe, America's most beloved president, who walked 3 miles to return 6 cents that he accidentally shorted the customer. To rise your honesty, you do the same. Do not shortchange the blind herbalist. Compassion comes from love, and you start as Bard in Britannia. Think of Ashoka the Great, who after destroying armies of Kalinga, felt terrible remorse and converted to Buddhism, and from that time on he acted as a solace for suffering and poor. It will do you good to give to beggars and spare non-evil enemies. However, doing the opposite of this will ruin your reputation. From courage comes valor. You will start as fighter in Jhelum. A story of Werner Voss, a World War I pilot, comes to mind, who faced off against 7 of the best British pilots, led by British ace of aces James McCudden, and held his own for 10 minutes without even attempting to retreat. He managed to put the bullets in every one of the enemy's machines. Follow his example and face your enemies bravely, and do not retreat. If you choose honor, which is a combination of courage and truth, you start intrinsic as a paladin. You can think of another fictional paladin, Sir Galahad from Arthurian legend, who has proven his honor by fulfilling quests by finding Holy Grail. And you shall do the same. Prove your honor, and do not steal, cheat, and attack non-evil enemies. Sacrifice comes from love and courage. You will start as Tinker in Minar if you choose this virtue. Sacrifice your blood and gold, but don't worry. Just like Odin gained wisdom after giving up one of his eyes, beggars overhear many things and are happy to share with a kind stranger. From truth and love, justice comes. You will start as Druid in Hugh. Exercise legendary judgment of King Solomon of Israel. Be honest to herbalist. Flee from conflict with non-evil enemies. Do not take what does not belong to you, and do not attack the innocent. On intersection of all these 3 principles lies spirituality. You will start as Ranger in Skara Brae. Many of holy men have courageously went into the solitude and contemplated on the life, and studying under their wise sage teachers, emerging echoing Zarathustra, I love mankind. Meditating in shrines and talking to Hakuin the Seer will help you master this virtue, but do not use false mantra. Finally, humility, which stands outside of these 3 principles. You will start as a humble shepherd in Magensia, a city which was destroyed by pride, showing you necessity of humility and how pride in yourself leads to self-destruction. Do not speak proudly to master humility. This is the first game programmed by Origin Systems. Story was written by Richard Garriotts and legendary Ro Adams, who is famous for writing for many other games. Denis Labbé truly sets the tone here with his art, and of course, game is accompanied by Kenneth Arnold's music. The game was released in 1985 on Apple II. In 1987, the game was ported on Atari and Amiga, and on NES in 1990. The game came with close map of Britannia, there is no longer a Caesarea, and a manual. The map had runic lettering on it, Richard was fascinated by this lettering after reading Lord of the Rings, and decided to implement the version of runic in his games. Well, let's get to the game. At the start of the game, you will need to get some armor, weapons, level up a little. You will also need some reagents to cast magic spells. So basically, Lord British will tell you everything you need to know. He tells you that New Era has dawned in Britannia, and Britannia needs a champion to guide it through New Age. You will need to master 8 virtues and become a spiritual figure called Avatar. Lord British will explain many other things to you. After you raise all your virtue points and get confirmation from Hakuin the Seer, you can start your pilgrimage. You will need to learn all mantras for virtues. Mantras are chants used during meditations. And even though mantras have no meaning, according to Eastern mysticism, there is a beauty in meaninglessness. Mantras help you reach internal silence and reach the divine. Sort of like Desert Fathers in Christianity chanting Jesus' prayer repeatedly. You will also need runes of 8 virtues. Now you can go and meditate at the 8 shrines. Your pilgrimage will mimic Ashtavanyek, 8 temples in Hinduism, or 8 Ganeshas. Ganesh is a Hindu deity of removing the obstacles, patron of arts and science, Deva or divinity of wisdom and learning. After meditating at all of the shrines, you shall emerge enlightened as Siddhartha Gautama after 49 days under a Bodhi fig tree. But not fully an avatar yet. You will be 8 parts avatar, which is symbolized by an Ankh. No deep meaning here. Richard saw symbol in Logan's Run and thought it was cool. To be full avatar, you will need to go down to Stygian Abyss and retrieve Codex of Ultimate Wisdom. You will need some items before this. All 7 companions to prove leadership in every virtue. You will need to go down in different dungeons and get 8 stones. There are also glowing orbs in the dungeons, and if you touch them, your stats will rise. To unlock Stygian Abyss, you will need Bell of Courage, which is on an island, Book of Truth in Library of Lyceum, and Candle of Love at the Cove Shrine. You can also get Mundane Skull at Volcanic Triangle, but do not use it. Destroy it. It gives you plus 10 avatar points in all virtues. And finally, you need 3 parts key and a word of passage. You can access 3 parts key very easily through Dungeon Hislos. Word of passage is in 3 pieces. Robert Fraser at Lyceum knows word ver for veritas or truth. Lord Robert at Impas Abbey will tell you word amo for amor, for love. And Sentinel at Serpent's Hold will tell you word cor, which really should be ani, since Latin word for courage is animo, but I guess word coraje from Spanish was chosen instead. You can also get mystic weapons, but only Avatar can equip them. After everything is done, you unlock Stygian Abyss and pass all the tests, and mimicking Christ's harrowing of hell, emerge with salvation, with Codex of Ultimate Wisdom, a full-fledged avatar, a physical representation of transcendental virtues. There is not much I can say about this game. It speaks for itself. Ultima 4 sold 400,000 copies by 1989 and gained number 2 spot on the list of best games of all time in 1996. And even in modern times, IGN named Ultima 4 as number 32 of top 100 RPG games of all time. If you like RPGs, you owe yourself to play this game. It is quite an amazing game, and if Richard Garriotts stopped making games here, he would already cement himself as video game legend. But brilliancy only just begins. If you like my video, please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to leave a comment. Thank you very much.